Welcome back. It's Workshop Wednesday. We have Dawn back. She's back from her girl vacation, her sister girls hanging out in Florida. You're in Florida, right?
I was, yes, at Destin.
We were all having FOMO and jealous, but we're glad you're back. So today's topic is to say how to say no without losing clients. So I know you've probably heard when you start business, you just say yes to everything. If a client asks you, you just say yes because you got to build that rapport, you got to build relationships. However, today we're going to talk about key things to notice in clients, that maybe their mannerisms, what they do, why it's okay to say no, and how to actually say no without just saying, yeah, no thanks, but no thanks, right? So we're going to talk through those things. I'm super excited. And Dawn has been through this with her staging company and then with her interior design company. I've been with had so many phone calls when I worked to model my home. Just the ones. You know the ones that you're on the phone with. And you cannot be blinded by dollar signs on this, because you have to build your business, your brand, and your authority in what you do. So we're going to talk through some of those today. If you have ever wanted to tell a client no, but you didn't, put it in the chat. We want to hear from you. So, Dawn, give us some examples of clients that maybe you should say no to.
Well, that's I've had a few that I've had to say no to, and I think I mentioned it before. I actually had one that I had to fire midway through a project, and so that's a whole new discussion. But I can touch point on it. So we did have a couple that we red flags, big red flags. The biggest red flag for me is when they call and say, I've worked with such and such designer, but it didn't work out. I want to work with you. Well, there's a red flag. And again, it's there's if you're like me, then you love a challenge. You love to be challenged. And for me, I think, oh, I can be the one. I can be the one that this person's going to love. I can be the one that this person's going to grab onto. Um, but lesson learned, I'm not the one. There's a reason why they've gone through maybe one or two or 10 designers or stagers. I'm talking both sides of this. If you're a stager, you and a realtor has reached out to you and said they've worked with 10 other stagers, you need to start asking some questions. You probably need to make a list of some questions that you need to ask right off the bat to fill somebody out and see what's really going on. Um, so that was one of my big things is if you or if they have worked with other people, you need to have a list of questions in place. And one of those questions is, can you tell me what happened? Can you tell me why you're choosing to go with my company and you didn't stay with this company? So it's asking the brutal and honest, the transparent question that everybody needs to know and everybody needs to hear, right? So that was one of my big questions that I would always ask everybody.
Awesome. Well, we know it's really hard because not every client is going to be the ideal client, right? So I love that you mentioned red flags, because that's super important. You have to know your color, your flag color. So is the person a green flag, a yellow flag, a little bit of concern? Because some people, they're just a little bit more involved, and that doesn't make them a red flag. They just might be a little bit more curious, or their personality asks a lot of questions, and that doesn't have to be a red flag. But it can maybe be a yellow flag in your mind, like, okay, should I move forward or should I not move forward with this person? But let's start with staging. So we'll hit staging and interior design, because they're two different. When you have the clients, you're having, I think, believe, a more intimate relationship with the clients that are interior design, because you're actually designing their home for what their desire is of the home, right? So you're taking what they're telling you and creating the vision for them. Staging is a little bit different. So we're dealing with our realtors that we love. We're dealing with sellers. And a lot of times, some of those conversations are just, a little bit frustrating. We've all had the customer on the phone. It's usually the seller that says, well, can I come to the warehouse and look at your furniture before you put it in my house? Can I have yellow pillows because yellow's like sunshine and I want to have sunshine in my house?
Yep.
You know the ones, right? So if you're watching this right now live with us or later, I want to hear the most ridiculous request you've had from your clients. And so how far do you have to let them go, or what are some of the things that you had your staff, or you would say when you have those really tough clients that are asking like for everything, the warehouse, the picking the design, approving or not approving a certain type of sofa? Oh, I hate cream sofas. I want a brown one. Put brown in. It's going to match my lovely brown carpet. It's going to be amazing.
It's funny you asked that. So it is a twofold, and there's a lot of it that kind of crosses over. So with staging, I did have even realtors that asked, can I come to the warehouse? Can I look at what you're going to put in the house? Can you send me pictures? And so again, those are kind of the yellow flags. And so with that, I would say no, because that takes additional time. If you want to see pictures of my work and what my aesthetic is, then you are welcome to go look on my website. You're welcome to go look on my social media platforms. And if this is not something that you see working, if this is not an aesthetic that you see that's going to work in this home, this specific home, then that's okay. And I can refer you. And that's where it actually kind of, it wasn't a breakup, but it was more of I can refer you to somebody that I think might work better if you tell me what it is you're looking for. So it wasn't an immediate dismissal, but it was me standing firm. And that's the hard part, is you have to stand your ground. And so with staging, it was me saying, you're going to have to trust me. You're going to have to trust that even though I am an interior designer and I have an interior design team, if I'm going to come in and stage, I'm putting on a staging hat. And that's a different hat. And so it was more telling them, you've got to trust me and you've got to trust my process, and that it's going to end well for both of us. I know that I can do this job. So with the design side, I'm going to flip sides. It all plays into a contract. You have to have your contract written out very specifically. And by that, I mean, when your client comes and gives you some pushback, that's okay. Some yellow flags and some pushback are okay, because I want them to be involved, right? I want them to feel like they're a part of the process to a certain extent. But they also have to trust you. And so in that contract, it would say, should you choose, after you've signed my contract and you've hired me to do X, Y, and Z, should you come back and say, I think I decided I wanted to go ahead and buy my couch at such and such store, but I'm going to let you go ahead and come in and put the flooring in and pick out the art. Okay, well, guess what? You're going to be charged. There's a charge fee for that. And now there's a new contract that can be put into play, because I can't guarantee you're going to like the outcome, because you have not just trusted me with the entire process. You have chose to pick apart everything that you told me that you were hiring me to do. And it's having those difficult conversations, but standing your ground, that's going to gain respect. And again, you have to be diligent and being very caring, and you have to sound like you are concerned when you're talking to them, because I was concerned. I'm not okay with this process. My name is going to be on it, and I want it to be just magnificent, right? I want it to be fabulous. And so I'm not saying that what you're going to pick is not going to be great, but what I'm saying is that you're not trusting me to do this, and you're not trusting my process. And if there's no trust, then all of a sudden we've got some breach happening, and there's some red flags that are going to be happening. And so a lot of times they'll back off and they'll say, okay, I'm going to go ahead and let you do it. And so it's more just standing your ground, almost holding their hand for a few minutes and saying, it's going to be okay, but you got to trust me. That's what's got to happen. Um, but that's the biggest thing. And I know it's hard to stand your ground. Like you said, Lori, at first, I wanted to just make everybody happy because I needed the money. I needed that revenue. I was new. I needed the clients. I needed the relationships. But you learn very quickly. And when a seasoned designer or stager tells you stand your ground, you got to believe him. Stand your ground.
Well, yeah, because that always goes back to the value that you're perceiving that your business is worth. And so if you are a newer stager and you have that feeling, which we all have, it's not a bad thing. It's a natural thing. We've all done that. There's been times even big staging companies hit a lull in their business and they're willing to accept a staging job for less than they typically would. So it happens to everyone. However, for the newer stagers, it's really important because however you start out is what people are always going to expect from you, right? So if you have a pricing structure that is close, but maybe not as much as a more seasoned staging company in the area, that's justifiable, right? So asking the question, like if the more seasoned staging company was to ask the client, hey, why did I lose you? And they said, because I got it for $100 less, that's understandable, right? And because they could clearly see, oh, this is, and you should be making friends with your fellow staging companies in your area and interior designers so that they know, like, oh yeah, this person's just starting out. Maybe the seller didn't have such a great budget. So then that's why they went to them, right? So I think we should make bracelets, Dawn, that say big girl bracelets, because really the whole time I was like, you just got to put on your big girl panties. But obviously we could put a bracelet on our desk, and when we have to have those hard conversations with clients, you grab that bracelet, you put your big girl bracelet on, and you just have the conversation with respect and being calm. A lot of times I've witnessed people getting very escalated because a lot of newbie stagers, or even the salespeople that are in your team, if you're a large staging company, there is a certain time that we start taking it personal, right? It's not personal. It's not us. It's not what we're doing. It's the person on the other line. It's their mindset. It's their circumstances in life. It's their personality. It's all on them, right? And we get a little frustrated sometimes, but customer service is king or queen to being successful. So you want to keep the good customer service going. However, let's run through some things, Dawn, that are non-negotiables. Like, if they do this, this is a nope, don't do it, don't risk it, don't put up with it, don't even deal with it. What are some non-negotiables with clients request, or what they're doing that it's not even, you just know automatically it's a nope, we're not working with them.
I think a non-negotiable for me, and again, you have to set your standards. Every individual stage or designer, you have to set your standards, and you're going to begin to set higher standards as you grow and as you do more business, because then you're going to see why we set these standards ahead of time. One of the biggest no-nos for me, like I said, was them asking, can I come into your warehouse, or can I go shopping with you, and or can I shop with you for products? No, those are big no's for me. I have clients that I did go shopping with for some smaller items. So all that to say, yes, I did do some shopping. There's a couple of clients that said, I want to go sofa shopping because I want to sit on it. Even though I could get it a lot less expensive online, they were like, I'll go to a store. I know that the price is going to be different. I want to sit on it. I want to feel it. But they needed to know that that was going to be an hourly rate. So again, don't bend. And most of the time, I only had it happen, I think, twice in 10 years. They said, let's go ahead and order it, because they don't want to pay an hourly rate. They don't want to spend 7 hours and pay an hourly rate to have you go from store to store to store to do stuff. So that was a big thing for me. It's all in how involved they wanted to be. Are they going to trust you with the process? And as they began to ask questions and push back, then your flags start to come up, right? And so I had a couple of clients that as they began to push back, as they began to question why our rates were what they were, what we did in the hour time that we charged an hourly rate or a flat fee. And I would give them an answer. They deserve it. They're paying me. They deserve an answer, right? But if they began to push back even after that, even after my definition of what it is that we do in this scope or this project, the flags began to raise. And so I would tell them, let's just talk about this today, and then I'll get back with you as far as what my schedule is. Because I would take it to my team, or I would take it home and sleep on it and say, how comfortable was I with this person pushing back as much as they did? And if it was too much, then that's when I turned around and came up with I had a top 3 things that I would say to clients that would basically dismiss them in a nice way. And so my first one was, I don't feel like I'm the right fit. After sitting with you, I think and again, being diligent in your kindness, right? You want to be delicate when you're talking to them. I would always say, I think your home is beautiful. I think that the home you want me to stage is great. I think that you're great. I follow you on social media, but I don't think that this connection right here, this home or this project or this scope is a good fit. And I really want to keep that respect between the both of us. I'm going to help you find somebody, or I'm going to give you a list of names of some people that you might fit better with. That was my number one go-to, and people really respected me for that. It might not be what they wanted to hear in the moment, but I guarantee you, and even after the fact, I was told, they respected me for that honesty and the referrals.
I love that. That brought up a very good point. So you don't want to necessarily refer problem clients to your staging peers, but I do know that a lot of our HSRA members will give each other a heads up, like, hey, this person, right? Like, this person is a little weird and whatever. But there are also staging companies that have certain niches, right? So if somebody loves glam and you don't, that's not how, and you stage industrial farmhouse is your niche, right? And they want you to bring in a bunch of shiny stuff, and you don't have that stuff, it's only setting you up for failure. So I loved how you handled that situation, like the pointing out the facts that that you as a business owner, you value them, you love the house, you think it's great, but your main concern is for their, I guess, well-being and selling the house, right? So, or designing the house, whichever that is. But this person, they specialize in like Hollywood glam or whatever they want it to be, correct? So I think that that's such a great point, because I do think, we talk so much about staging and how, when we have those phone calls, when people want to decide how they're going to stage the house, they want to put their input in and how it should look. And, I really like traditional furniture. So I want a lot of dark, heavy wood, which is a stager's nightmare because it's heavy, it's old fashioned, and it's dark. So that's definitely a stager nightmare. But I just think it's important to know, like, when you can and when you can't, when you bend and then when you just break, and that it is okay to have a niche. Definitely staging in Kansas and staging in Texas and staging in California, we all have different parts. We have something very similar, the transitional, but we have a lot of beach and coastal here, where somewhere in the Midwest might not have that.
Yep.
So it's okay to do that. I love that you pointed that out.
Yeah. I think the second, and one of the biggest ones I hear all the time are prices. And you said it, Lori, you're going to get pushed back, and they're going to say, Sally Stager down the street said she would do this for $100 less. And then as a new stager, you want to say, okay, I will. But again, you're setting this precedent. And now they're not only going to expect $100 less every time, but then they're going to talk to somebody else that said, all I had to do was tell her that Sally Stager wanted or was going to take less, and she took less. And so then all of their friends, all of their referrals are going to begin to push back too. So I cannot stress this enough, that when I had my prices were my prices. And I stood firm by them, and I believed in them, because I brought to the table everything and more that they wanted, and that was my price. And
Yeah.
I should not have to explain myself. There were times I said, look, I have overhead. I mean, at the end of the day, we all have bills to pay. And we all have sat down and we've done what we could to budget and say, this is what I need to survive. This is what I need to make it to tomorrow. And so don't bend on that. And if Sally Stager down the street does it for $100 less, I'm sorry, but let them go with Sally Stager, because now, as much as you hate to hear it, you're making room for somebody else that will come and they're going to pay more. They're going to pay what you're asking, and then they're going to keep coming back. And then when you raise your prices, which I guarantee you will happen, it happened to me, happens to everybody, then all of a sudden when you raise your prices, there's no question. There's no pushback because you stood your ground on what you bring to the table and what you offer. So, and I didn't do that at first. So don't think that I was always this tough businesswoman that stood my ground. I'm telling you because I'm a lesson learned. And so I cannot stress it enough. I am a very big lesson learned, and I had to learn how to stand my ground and then regain control of what I wanted to offer and what my prices were.
Yeah, and that's so good. And I love that here at HSRA, we foster a community of staging and design business owners that are open and willing to talk to other stagers, up and coming stagers, about their pricing. And, one of my biggest success stories over the last 6 years that happened was a stager telling another stager in love and with the utmost respect, but she told her when she asked for her advice and explained where she was in her staging business, she said, "You are the stager that I warned my realtors about, but I'm going to help you. Like, I'm going to give you the resources." And she referred her to us at HSRA, and we were able to help her build her actual business, the staging business, the exit, the ethics, the processes and the procedures, and how do you price and how do you have hard conversations and all of that, so that she could get legit to where she would not be offended if she lost a client to them, because she knew ethically and she knew that this person had a great support around the person. So I love those type of conversations, right? Like, just knowing that it's scary to go to someone who you might consider your competition, but get that big girl bracelet. I swear at Summit, we have to have big girl bracelets. I'm telling you, big girl, big guy bracelets, whichever, but big girl bracelets on and just have the conversation. So many people don't like confrontation now, and it doesn't have to be confrontation, whether it's telling a client no or talking to a fellow stager or designer. It's just opening up a conversation. How can we do business better? How can we win together? What things can I help you with that maybe you don't even like to do, like consultations or walk and talks or occupied stages? Those bigger companies, most of the time, those aren't their favorites, right? So if you're new, hook up with a vacant staging company. If you're a vacant staging company, look out for your newer stager companies. They would love to collaborate and help you. And so I love this. I love that you're able to kind of share with everyone how to say no in a polite way, still not burning no bridges. We don't want to burn any bridges here. We always want to leave the door open to reconcile, because even if you have a red flag client off the bat, you don't know what they're going through. Mm-hmm. And they might not be that horrible always. They may just be having a moment, right? There's many different reasons why people sell their house: death, divorce, finances, all of it, right? That realtor might be about to not be able to pay their bills because they haven't sold a house in a long time. And maybe they have to pay for their child's tuition or whatever, their car payment. Could you imagine being a realtor and not having money and getting your car repoed? Like, that's the worst, because now you can no longer go see the houses, or you got to catch a ride with your client, which would just be a nightmare, right? So always leave the door open for a new conversation, but stand your ground, know your value. And one way you can know your value is surrounding yourself with other people in our industry, which is why we have this. And tomorrow, we start a 9-day workshop. We're going to put the link in the comments. If you haven't registered yet, we're going 9 days straight, 12 noon for 1 hour every single day. And we are literally going to do the business blueprint. So Jana is going to jump on every day and teach you how to build your business. You're definitely not going to want to miss that. I'm going to put it in the chat right now. And then also we have Summit coming up, which Dawn, tell the good people your experiences as an HSRA member of Summit in the past.
I love Summit. And I can say this, and everybody hear me. Before I became a part of HSRA, I was at Summit as a stager and then as a designer. And then now here I am as an employee. So it just goes to show I'm not saying this out of an obligatory statement because I'm a part of HSRA. I was in HSRA at Summit every year as a business owner, and as I would grow. So my biggest thing, and it's on the video, and I'll say it all day, every day, is the one thing that we are, I think, the most horrible at as business owners is taking time for ourselves. I don't have time. Then the second excuse, I don't have the money. And I always said to myself, okay, Summit, you've got to go, because something pushed me. It must have just been, I mean, it's the higher power, I'm guessing, because I really didn't have a lot of time, didn't have a lot of money as a new business owner, but I found it and I went to Summit and I never, ever regretted it. I would leave with so much knowledge. My head felt like it was going to explode because I would go with an open mind and listen to what other people were doing. And it doesn't mean that you're going to go and you're going to get everything that you need to make your business succeed. It means it's that you're going to hear all of these nuggets and people are going to tell you how they succeeded. And then you pick and choose, like you said, what's going to work for you, what's going to work for your industry. Here's the thing though, you can go to school all day, every day, and you can be a part of specific groups. But when you come together with this many people in a room, and all of a sudden you don't even realize the knowledge that you're going to gain. I didn't even have some of the problems that some of these stagers talked about, but guess what? I did. The problems came to me, and all of a sudden I remembered I remember them talking about it. And so it's huge. It's huge. I can't stress it enough. And I love that I can really, really tell people to go. They have to believe me. I was there. I was in the business. I was a business owner. And so it makes me feel good to say that I don't regret ever going to Summit. It was worth it.
It is such a fun time to be able to connect and be around other people and just be like refreshed. So speaking of Summit, next Wednesday, we have Kara Woods that's going to join us for an interview. She's one of our speakers at Summit. You're going to love her. She's amazing, fabulous, and all of the things. She is just so awesome. So we're going to bring her on. She's going to be one of our speakers. You're not going to want to miss that. So meet us here, same place, same time next week. And thank you so much, Dawn, for sharing today. If you guys have any questions about how to tell your clients no, if we didn't cover something, just put it in the chat and we'll be on it. And definitely join us tomorrow for our free 9-day workshop. So we'll see you then. Thanks.